worship you, Lord. Come on, help me sing. There is only one name. Come on, sing it out. There is only one name. The power to save. Hey. Power to save. Come on, sing it out again. There is only one name. There is only one name. Come on, lift up your voices. There is only one name. Power to save. Power to save. Power to save. And our God, He is champion. He reigns forever.
Hi everybody, my name is Kunle Pelemo. You can call me KP. I'm asking you to join me every Friday 5:30 p.m. GMT on the MHAASP show right here on MZ Radio London. It's a show where we talk about mental health and suicide prevention. Set a reminder for that. And just before I go, I want to let you know I care about your mental health. And you know what? Stick around right here on this station. Don't go nowhere. Welcome to this week edition of the show. I'm super excited to have you join me from wherever you're listening. We're reaching you live on MZ Radio London and AP Radio UK. I'm your host, Kunle Pelemo. They call me KP, and whenever I'm right here with you, you know how we say it. KP in the building. It's Friday, and I know for some folks now it's TGI. And like I do tell you, don't be selfish with this show. Go tell someone who is not listening yet to join, because today's edition from Yeah, sorry for that break in transmission. It was due to a little glitch that we experienced on our network. Yeah, just before the break, I was saying I have a wonderful guest with me today, and we'll be discussing issues about teens' mental health. What an important topic it is, because according to the World Health Organization, mental health conditions account for 16% of the global burden of disease and injury in people aged 10 to 19 years. Half of all mental health conditions start by 14 years of age, but most cases are either not detected or not attended to. Consequently, such conditions extend to adulthood, impairing physical, emotional, and mental health, thereby limiting opportunities to lead fulfilling lives. My guest today has served more than 21 years in the college admissions profession, having extensive experience in the areas of freshman, transfer, and international admissions. She founded College Confidence in 2002 with the purpose of protecting the worth and authenticity of teens so that they feel ready to take on the world. Our students are more than engineers, business leaders, teachers, and doctors. They are innovators, creators, and compassionate problem solvers. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as show Sonia. Have you here?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a million for coming. So much appreciate. How are you doing? First and foremost, let me ask.
Oh, thank you, Kunle. It's such an honor to be a part of your program. I am feeling fantastic. It is a Friday morning here in the U.S. I'm in Southern California, so I am ready to go. My Friday is just beginning.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. It's evening right here, so and I've been having a very wonderful Friday as well. So let's hit the show running right away. As shown in research stated in my introduction, a double figure percentage of teenagers and college age have mental health related issues, and the figure is not yet going down. What do you think is responsible for this, Sonia?
I so appreciate this important question, and I want to do a premise because I'm coming with this conversation from the college counseling perspective, from an educator perspective, and from a parent. I'm a mother of a 20-year-old and a 12-year-old, both daughters, and teen mental health has to be a conversation where we look at all angles and lenses and expertise. And so just the premise here is I'm coming in as the educator and a mother. And if I may answer your question in three parts, Kunle, or KP, there was something that was happening pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And I really want to address what was happening before the pandemic arrived, because then something shifted when the pandemic arrived, and now we're entering another new change. So can I give you a sort of timeline of where I think mental health may have been, one of the reasons or factors of influencing teen mental health?
Absolutely.
Thanks. I go, being in higher education for so long, and again from the U.S., I anchor my work on a psychologist, a researcher from Stanford University, Carol Dweck, where there is a huge anchor to fixed-minded versus growth-minded development. And this impacts parents and educators since our children are very, since they're born. And the language that we use at home in our kids can really make a difference about mental health and wellness as they grow up. So what I mean by fixed-minded is for our culture, and I'm talking cultural values in the US, but I work with students internationally as well. We have somehow changed the language where happiness and the pursuit of achievement is anchored on fixed things like awards and trophies and grades and test scores. And what that communicates to our young people, and it's almost like this institutional language from the home, is that if we're not perfect and we don't have these list of things, rather than having the courage to have effort in the experience, that level of stress and anxiety is what I have seen by the time our children become teenagers and college students. So the first thing is pre-pandemic is parenting styles, and even perhaps some of our educators, we are using language where we're telling our kids it's a linear path. And if you don't achieve that path, then somehow something's wrong. And then they lack resiliency, courage, confidence, and then that self-efficacy. So I wanted to address that in the pre-pandemic stage.
Yeah, good.
So then the pandemic arrived, and that shook everyone. And there's such tangible losses there's so much media coverage on those losses, but it's either persons, jobs, mobility, connection, and sweeping everything that we know from our feet in terms of routine, a little bit of certainty, as certain as we can control it, changing routines and rituals, that alone heightens anxiety and stress levels. And of course, clinically, if our teens already suffer from depression and anxiety, imagining that what our foundation was and what we were used to being swept under our feet, just added a layer of teen mental health issues. And one of the things during the pandemic is, and I'm usually our teens are home now, right?
Yeah.
is a shift of influence of our young people. And
Okay.
what used to be the shift of influence, I'm using Mike Berry. He's a well-known author. He wrote a book called Winning Your Child's Heart. And as children, the main influences of our children was us as parents and caregivers, other adults, teachers and coaches, friends, and then culture. But there's a huge shift. Now it's friends, then it's culture, then other adults, and then finally it's us as the parents and caregivers. So imagine the stress of being left out. Where are my friends? Where is my sense of belonging in terms of a teen and college student world when they're at home? So the loss of during the pandemic, and then the shift of influence and the complete uncertainty added to mental health crisis. But the good news was we were able to rebuild. There was some resilience where we said, hey, we're going to build a new routine. And I'm okay with the new routine, whether it's online learning and connecting more with my friends via social digital devices, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then however, the new shift is this: we're in uncertain times again because the pandemic has shifted the world. Vaccinations, wherever we are, has impacted a change. And all of a sudden, our teens and college students are faced with great uncertainty. What will the new change look like? And do I have to rebuild a new routine and rituals in my life? So that's just kind of the summary of where I feel like all these factors are impacting our mental health. I'm hoping you're still there, KP.
Yeah. I'm here with you. Yeah. Oh.
Just an FYI, I think we lost.
Just yeah, Sonja.
Yes, I think I hear you.
Yeah, I wanted to bring out something, fact that the pandemic had come to create like a kind of disruption, which is very, very obvious, and it's global. And a lot of these teams now, most of them don't even know how to cope with whatever they and child in the society.
And KP, I apologize. I think I heard partial response and questioning the, picking, like really focusing on the pandemic. And you're going to have to repeat your question again. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was saying that why do most of our teams engage in healthy coping habits and strategy? And then what are the effects? Did you hear that?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
So, okay, good. Yeah, so the unhealthy coping mechanisms, well, that is where that shift of influence that I talked about, where teens are really finding their sense of belonging amongst their peers. And, the coping mechanisms are so vast, and I'm only going to focus on one. Again, not having, being a therapist or psychologist, I'm sure there's just so many that we can dive into, whether it's substance abuse, addiction to social media, avoidance, isolation. However, the one major issue that I have seen is the sacrifice of sleep. And I really want to focus on sleep. Because in the name of finding connection, staying stimulated because of boredom, or maybe it's escapism. I just want to be distracted from the hardship that I'm experiencing. Perhaps I don't feel a sense of belonging at home. So they're going to anchor to social media devices. And if it's not just young people. Everyone who has a phone in their hands knows how genius these devices are in creating addiction to the stimulation, right? We get a connection immediately. So if I'm a young person, my brain isn't so great in terms of building a discipline and habit. of when to stop. As adults, we might have that responsibility of, okay, I have to have discipline because I have to go to work. I'm a caretaker of some sort. So there's some check and balance there. But for young people, there might be more of that slippery slope, maybe perhaps a lack of boundaries where all of a sudden they're sacrificing sleep and they feel okay living on 4 hours or less of sleep a night. And the issue with that, I mean, if they're kind of going through this cycle of managing sleep deprivation and then back on their phones again, or whatever digital device they use for that connection, or perhaps it's, video gaming, whatever that outlet is. And again, I'm just focusing on this one minute context. Then as a society, we are investing time and energy in the cycle of recovering, helping our teens recover, rather than how can teens feel a sense of contribution. Maybe we call it purpose, whatever we might call it, or intention, that I have something else to contribute within this sense of community that I'm in.
Wow.
So yeah, I just feel like sleep has, in my world of working with teens and college students, my number one question is, how much sleep have you received? And it's surprising, the majority of students will say 5 hours or less as a normal. I think we lost connection with KP, and I think he's going to get back on with the audio. One of the technology challenges of today, but it's awesome that he is calling from London and me from the US. So we'll wait for KP to join us.
That's why we use 100% British apples every day, starting with the ones less than 40 miles away. It's in the detail.
Station on the hill, MZ Radio London.
I've searched all over, but I know fit find one person when to love me like you do, when fit do the things you do, in all day, in all day. Oh, now you be my everything, oh God. You've been my everything, oh God. Now you've been my everything, oh God. Oh, now you've been my everything, oh God. My joy, my peace, my life.
It's all about Kingdom Business. MZ Radio London.
Welcome back. This is still the MHAASP show on MZ Radio London and AP Radio UK. That was a song of Joy Saliu titled Everything. I still have in the building Sonja Montiel, and we've been talking about the mental health of teens. Before we round off, to me, the family is the smallest unit of society, and it plays a pivotal role in determining the success of individuals that make up the family. The effect of what transpires in a family can ripple across the immediate community, which can in turn affect the larger society. So, narrowing this down to our discussion today, what roles do family members play, and what steps can we take generally to improve the mental health of our teens? Sonja.
Thank you, KP. Well, I do want to first say, that families really need to be observant. And there's an organization here in California called YouthWell. And if we're observing that our teens have significant personality change or consistent agitation or withdrawal or poor self-care or hopelessness, it is time we need to seek help. And that's where we get therapists or other professionals to come in and help teens and families navigate through it. But what I want to also talk about is perhaps maybe it isn't, we're not seeing evidence yet of significant mental health issues. And I think that there's a couple things that we can do in the home as families. It is really staying still as parents and caregivers and asking ourselves, are we creating a sense of belonging in our home? And I know that's abstract because that depends on family values, culture, priorities, even logistics, like parents are working and how do we navigate a sense of belonging? But if we can just be still and reflect, what is one thing where we can enhance sense of belonging? And how can my children within this family contribute to that? I think that's really important. And that might be building rituals, building a consistent, like for me at home, I have my sixth grader. And I have this ritual of every time at lunchtime, I will sit with my daughter and we will eat a meal and have one show together every day, this whole pandemic. And that's something that both of us can rely on. Not only is there a connection, but we also depend on that consistency and routine. There's also role modeling. So as parents, ask ourselves, how are we role modeling a response and mindset? Are we walking around the home and saying, oh my gosh, it's so terrible out there. I'm so overwhelmed. Everything's awful. If we're role modeling that type of response, well, of course our children will role model that back. It's like, if this is how I should, handle the pandemic. If my parents are doing that, then perhaps that is the way, the mindset that we should have. And so as we're the leaders, we're the educators in the home. And of course, as adults, we may have real feelings. And perhaps if we have the mental health issues ourselves, maybe we should seek the help and the support so that we can become role models in our home. And I always say, there's a thing I call still and chill. Be still and chill.
Still and chill.
Still and chill, because parents, in our fear, we sometimes want to move a lot, talk a lot. The louder we are, we feel like we're contributing to helping our teens. And for teens, because remember that shift in influence, it's perhaps, just being quiet, being still but present, and letting that connection build upon one another. So if teens don't feel like they're being investigated on, or there's too many questions being asked, and then they start to retreat into their rooms.
Wow, that's absolutely spot on. I mean, you've heard it all. And I must confess, before I ask you the final thing, as you're just reading out those information in the show, I want to confess that I just went ahead and checked, prior to our name, Sonja, and I found out that it means wisdom. Wow. And you're giving us a lot, and you're leaving the name, and you just did that on the show. Thank you so much, Sonja. Before we let you go, I would like you to tell us more about your personal project and how you could be reached.
For sure. Thank you. Again, it's been incredible to be on the show. I do, you can contact me in two ways, collegeconfidence.net and also the dheffect.com. And this is where my heart is right now. The DH Effect is called the Decided Heart Effect. And it's a program that my co-host and co-founder, Hillary Bilbrey, founded. And it really is, we offer keynotes, programs, coaching, and also a podcast show, where we're highlighting moments in the adult world where we can return back to how can we decide to live with a decided heart? Because to us, being the adults that we want to be, the role models we want to be for our young people, we have to start with the heart work. And we're highlighting the decisions that we make within our life experiences to completely own it and honor it, identify what's there, and making decisions on how to live in a positive light. If we can do that for us individually, then it will trickle down to those that we serve. And in this case, it would be the teens and college students.
Exactly. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Ah, Sonia, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I am sure if we call, again and again, you definitely will answer our call.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, KP. The work that you're doing is tremendous and it's worldwide. And I will be following you. You have a fan over here.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure. Thanks a lot. And I also want to commend what you're doing with the DH effect too with Hillary. Well done and well done. And that's the show for today. We want to thank you for joining. And you know how we say it, stay mentally healthy till we come next week. Bye for now.